Good afternoon. Welcome to News Hour at 2. I am Winifred Efun. We start off from the court. The Supreme Court, in a 9-all decision, has dismissed a review application filed by Justice Abdullahi, a private legal practitioner and plaintiff, in the matter which asked the Supreme Court for interpretation on the voting rights of deputy speakers of parliament when presiding. The president of the 9-member panel of judges, Justice Jones Doche, reading the decision of the panel, said the application fell short of the requirement for review and therefore unmeritorious. The court advised him to abide by the rules of the court and refrain from granting interviews in the media after filing processes. Studio is my colleague Barbara Kuma to explain further. Hello, Barbara.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us in the studio.
Thank you.
How's your day been?
Hectic as usual, but you're on top of it.
Right. So why was Justice Abdullahi in court seeking review?
If you quite remember about his application to the Supreme Court for interpretation of whether a deputy speaker can vote whilst presiding over the House, and there was a judgment on March 9th that, didn't go in his favor.
Right.
And so subsequently the court was like, okay, there's a deputy speaker can vote as well as sit on or preside over the House when it is mattered. So he went back to the court and said that no, the judgment from that March 9th occasioned a breach of the breach justice, or there was a miscarriage of justice, because the ordinary bench, when I say the ordinary bench, the bench that sat to hear the case, right, overlooked a couple of things in his application.
That is according to Justice Abdullahi.
Yes,
right.
They overlooked a couple of issues and they overlooked a couple of things. So it couldn't be that their judgment is right. So they should go back to their judgment and review it, and if possible, reverse their own decision. So that's why he went to the Supreme Court. So
then that will bring me to ask, how did the justice arrive at a decision to throw out the review?
They looked at the application as usual, and they said that what he had put together, it didn't meet the threshold for review. It didn't meet the measurements or the standard for it to be.
So in layman terms, I would say there was no case at all.
At all. It didn't meet any. They didn't. The judgment from March 9 didn't occasion any miscarriage of justice. It was spot on, and so there was nothing wrong with the judgment, and so there was no merit to the current application which was thrown out today. Right. Yeah.
So tell us, how was the mood before and after the ruling?
It was a normal thing. It was a normal go to court for. This is my story. Listen to me. This is what is happening. This is what's going. What do you think about it? We think zilch. There's nothing in there for us to decide in the first place. So it was normal. When he came out, Justice Abdullahi, as well as the deputy AG who was in court, who represented the state, they spoke to us. They said, well, Justice said, finally, it's okay if the judges who are learned say this is what is, then fine. Let's end it there. So that was
if I understand it well, he was advised to refrain from granting interviews, if I'm correct. Yeah. Why would the Supreme Court advise such?
Interestingly, his application had a couple of errors. The irony of it, he was blaming the court for errors in the judgment. His application also had errors, like he didn't get the dates of the judgments right, and a couple of other errors in there. And the court brought his attention to and said, look, you didn't do due diligence. You are all over the place granting interviews in the media about your current application, the previous application and all that, but you haven't taken time to look at...
But does that take away the substance of the fact, granting us interviews, explaining to the media why he embarked on that journey?
You see, there's a slim, I don't know how to say, but there's a slight way to granting interviews in the media and then offending the law. You might say something that snaps. Do you get it? I don't know how to put it, but in the courts, you have to be careful what you say outside of the court, especially on your side. How do I put it? You might prejudice the case that is pending. Do you get it? And you know the court is a different matter altogether when it comes to you barely discuss some of these issues outside of the court. So you are not allowed, or in fact you can, but you should be measured in the things you say outside of the court. Exactly. So that was what they brought his attention to, advised him, look, you're a lawyer. He's a lawyer and a lecturer, and so you know what the court says. Do not depart from the court rules. Go according to the court rules. You have filed processes in court. Wait, let's finish whatever it is we are supposed to say, and then you go out and give your views or whatever of it.
So has the ruling brought finality to the case, or there are still other avenues for redress?
Well, I don't know what Justice Abdullah is going to do, his next step or his next line of action, but the Supreme Court is the final place to rest all your cases.
Meaning that after this review, there is no avenue for any other review again?
No, it's done for him for now. So unless he wants to put in a new, fresh application, we don't know about that. But the Supreme Court says the case lacks merit. So
but it's all in due case. I mean, it's good for lecturers and lawyers to also test the case for us
you need
to
test the law and know exactly.
So that's Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And that was my colleague Barbara Kuma, who just came from the court. The Interior Ministry has declared May 2 and May 3, 2022 as public holidays in two separate statements issued by the ministry. Sunday, 1st May 2022, which marks May Day or Workers' Day, is a statutory public holiday. Given that the holiday falls on a weekend, Monday, May 2, 2022, will be the day to observe the holiday. The May 3, 2022 holiday is to mark Eid al-Fitr. Eid is celebrated after Ramadan by Muslims in Ghana and across the world. Muslims believe the Holy Quran was revealed in Ramadan, and throughout the month they fast and engage in other rituals to get closer to Allah. A rather sad story. We'll take a quick break. We will be back shortly. For staying on. And on a rather sad note, news just in indicates that there is another fire at the Makola Shopping Mall. We go to my colleague Juliet Edmonds to tell us more. Hello, Juliet.
Hello, good afternoon.
We are not done with yesterday's news. What more? What is happening?
Hello?
Yes, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, we understand there is another fire outbreak. Where is that and what is happening currently?
I am currently at the Makola Shopping Center, where there is another fire outbreak. No, Accra just experienced a fire outbreak just yesterday, which they are still battling to quench the fire. But at the moment, there is another one at the shopping center, that's the Makola Shopping Center. When I got to the place is filled with smoke, but the fire has not escalated yet. So, but the firefighters are also there trying to do their best so that the fire will not escalate. So this is what I have at the moment. So I'll get back to you the details.
So if I understand, these are separate areas in Accra?
Yes, yes.
Yesterday was at Opera and today is at the Makola Shopping Mall.
Yes, yes. This is at the Makola Shopping Mall. That is opposite Rollins Park. And yesterday's one happened at Opera Square.
But from where you are, can you say it is under control? As you say, the fire officers are already battling the fire.
Yes, the situation is under control. You know, the fire has not escalated yet, but the place is all in full with smoke.
Okay.
The traders are also trying to bring their food out. Some drivers, you know, the place is also a parking spot. So the drivers are also trying to bring their cars out.
Are they not,
Are
they not getting in the way of the fire officers?
The fire officers, when I got there, they were trying their best to enter the place. I was not getting there at the moment.
Or meaning that they've not been able to enter the building where the fire is already ravaging?
Yeah, it's starting from the story building. That's the middle of the story building.
Okay.
So the fire officers have not been able to get there.
Right. And other buildings around it are safe at the moment as we speak?
Yes.
Okay. We will leave you for now, Juliet. We'll get back to you when you have more update for us. And that was my colleague Juliet Edmonds from Accra, giving us another sad news from Makola Shopping Mall. Traders at Opera Square in Accra are counting their loss after fire gutted a two-story building, destroying valuables running into thousands of Ghana cedis. The inferno was first seen on the first floor and then extended to the second floor. Reports indicate that the regional minister and the government officials will visit the scene this morning. My colleague Alan Tego is bringing us up to speed with happenings. Is Alan with us? Hello, Alan. I understand. Staying on, if you just join us, we just heard from my colleague Juliet, who told us about another fire outbreak at the Makola Shopping Center. But now, investigations are ongoing as to what caused Monday afternoon's fire at Opera Square in Accra, with traders yet to reconcile to the loss after fire gutted a two-story building, destroying valuables running into thousands of Ghana cedis. The fire was first seen on the first floor and then extended to the second floor. My colleague Akosua Frema Frempong was at the scene this morning and bring us an update. Hello, Akosua.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Is the fire completely out?
I would say it has been brought under control by the Greater Accra Fire Command, Regional Fire Command. I went there this morning and I saw that they were still working. And then I asked the number of hours they have used to bring the fire under control. And then one of them, he didn't mention his name. He told me he was speaking without an authority, so he will not mention his name. He told me they started around 4 p.m. yesterday, and they were able to bring it under control this morning around 7. So per my calculation, it's about 16 hours before the fire was brought under control. And I asked why it took them that much time. And then he said it was because of the wares, the plastic wares that was burning, that extended the quenching time.
But do we know the extent of damage yet?
I asked some of the traders, the shop owners, and then they told me they have not been allowed to enter their shop. So for now, they can't quantify their losses. Until they are allowed in, they can't say anything about how much they have lost.
You just mentioned that there were plastics in the building. Was that the only item in those buildings, or other people also sold other stuff?
As you rightly said, where the fire started, those were the items found there. The shop owners I spoke to claimed it's a warehouse that belongs to a certain Chinese company who are into plastic waste. So that's where the fire started.
We heard from some victims as to what may have caused the fire. Has the fire officers given a valid or given us really what happened, a cause to the fire?
They say they are still, it's under investigation, so for now they can't say anything about it until they are done with the investigations.
And we were told government officials will be there in the morning. We're already in the afternoon. Do you know whether they've already made that visit and what were the outcomes?
As of the time we were there, we were there for about 4 or 5 hours. We didn't meet any government official there, but I understand the regional minister, Henry Korte, was there last night. Yes.
As typical of fire outbreaks, you see people, I mean, going around where the scene is. Is it the same at the Opera Square now, or people are just going about their duties?
The police were there to control any act of theft or something, and then as of the time we were leaving, the place had been cordoned off.
Okay.
Yes.
But people around where the cordon off has been are going about their normal duties,
are going
and everything
on
is
about
going on well.
Yes,
all
everything
right.
is
Thank you,
normal.
Akosua. We'll come back to you when you have any more updates. And that was my colleague, Akosua Frema, who just came from the Opera Square. Now, Trade Union Congress is backing the 36 organizations under the Public Services Workers Union, PSW, to make a strong case for the payment of political neutrality allowance for qualified members. The groups are demanding urgent action for the allowance to be paid following a similar call by some public sector workers under the Civil and Local Government Service Staff, SAG. The neutrality allowance is to ensure that civil and local government workers do not engage in partisanship while conducting their affairs when they are in their various offices. According to the TUC, the name of the allowance, which has been largely considered controversial, should not take away the substance and significance of the allowance to the average public service worker. Joining us via Zoom is the General Secretary of the Public Services Workers Union, PSW, Mr. Bernard Ejay. Hello, sir. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Mr. J, are you with us? Good afternoon. We are going to have a conversation on the neutrality allowance, and Mr. Bernard J will be joining us on Zoom to have this discussion. Explain to us what the need is for, whether there is even a justification for the neutrality allowance for the public service workers and then CLOSAC. Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Come back. Trade Union Congress is backing the 36 organizations under the Public Services Workers Union PSW to make a strong case for the payment of political neutrality allowance for qualified members. The groups are demanding urgent action for the allowance to be paid following a similar call by some public sector workers under the Civil and Local Government Service Staff CLOSAC. The neutrality allowance is to ensure that civil and local government workers do not engage in partisanship while conducting their affairs when they are in their various offices. According to the TUC, the name of the allowance, which has been largely considered controversial, should not take away the substance and significance of the allowance to the average public sector worker. Joining us on phone is the General Secretary of the Public Services Workers Union, PSW, Mr. Bernard Ejay. Hello, sir. Thank you for joining us on phone now.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Right. So let's start off from this premise. What is the justification for demanding the neutrality allowance?
Well, my sister, the justification is something that has already been widely publicized. And you have yourself alluded to the justification that has come even from deputy ministers or government officials. So the justification is without question is to compensate public servants or public service workers who are required to stay neutral in the performance of their duties. Which we believe that if that is the justification for which government have agreed to pay this allowance, then all public sector workers who are required to stay neutral, the same justification, the same reason, then they should also benefit from this allowance. And we know that apart from the public sector workers who have been identified in the civil service, there are other public sector workers, including the Electoral Commission, National Commission for Civic Education, Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, your good self, and any other public sector worker who is required to stay neutral in the performance of their duty should be paid this allowance.
So have you considered changing the name of the allowance to, reflect the substance for which it is being demanded?
Well, for now, we have brought this up. We have written to the appropriate offices and major stakeholders we deal with. What we are expecting is that in the spirit of social dialogue, in the spirit of good faith negotiations, they will invite us for the engagement to start. And if it's about names can always be given. But the underlying purpose and reason, justifications that have been advanced for the allowance remain the same. So when we go for this engagement and these discussions come up, we are going to deal with it. For now, the name that has come out for us all to hear is neutrality allowance. And to be specific, political neutrality allowance. So let the engagement begin. And if it is named that the authorities want to be changed, the name can always be changed. But the fact that public sector workers who are expected to be neutral in the discharge of their duties should all benefit from this allowance is without question.
And so I understand that government has agreed to make payment of this allowance. Is that the case?
Well, if government has agreed, that has not been communicated to us.
Okay.
If government has agreed that he will start paying this allowance from this month, then yes, all public sector workers who are expected to stay neutral in the performance of their job duties and functions, all of them should be paid, irrespective of the unions, associations, or groups they belong to. Once they are public sector workers and they are required to stay neutral, and for purposes of emphasis, examples such as Electoral Commission, NCCE, GBC, they should all be paid the political neutrality allowance.
How much are we looking at here? Hello, sir.
Hello.
I'm asking how much are we looking at here? Or that is also...
please, if you could come again. I'm
asking how much are we looking at here, or deliberations are now going on for the amount to be paid to workers? Do we have the amount?
Well, as to the amount to be paid,
yeah.
We negotiate when we sit at the table.
Okay.
It will be unfair on my part when I have not yet engaged the other party to start mentioning things on air. So what we are expecting is that that engagement will begin, and then we will start talking. Then we can come out with the figures we are looking at. Yeah. But in any case, we are also aware about what has been agreed, the amounts that have been agreed already between CLOCSAG and the government. Yeah.
All right. We look forward to a fruitful deliberation. We hope that the amount will hit our payslip soon.
Thank you very much, my sister.
Thank you so much, sir. Now, the neutrality allowance that the Civil and Local Government Staff Association Ghana, CLOCSAG, demanded for has elicited criticisms from people in and outside the public service. On GTV Breakfast, the Dean of the School of Graduate Studies, UPSA, Professor John Kokumauto, and the Director General of the Internal Audit Agency, Dr. Eric Odrosai, expressed their disagreements to the policy, saying government had the power to say no to the neutrality allowance. They argued that CLOCSAG is bound by the conditions of their service to be neutral.
Can I understand why we should separate that one as an allowance to be paid to some? It should be inbuilt and it should be implied.
As a public servant, I have to be very careful as to maintaining a very neutral position in the dictate of my work. Now, how on earth do you expect the government to pay you allowances for being neutral?
The law uses the same terminology. Something the law forbids you from doing, government should not compensate you to say that you are not doing it. So I agree with Dr. Nana Atuata. They can change the name and they can go back to the negotiation table and discuss with government. But for government to pay them neutrality allowance, I think we are promoting something, or we are setting a dangerous precedent that is not good for employer-employee relationship.
And away from issues surrounding the political neutrality allowance, the government is working to build consensus with stakeholders on development priorities in northern Ghana. This is part of the plan to improve socio-economic development in the area. The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, believes the partnership with development actors will help accelerate the process while minimizing exposure to threats of insecurity in the Sahel.
The focal point of the Northern Development Authority's inaugural meeting with development partners was on raising the standard of living in the 5 regions of the north. The NDA said unmechanized agriculture, weak education and health infrastructure, threats of insecurity from the Sahel, among others, remain key challenges compounding poverty in the north. It highlighted the level of government investment in addressing the issues and the areas requiring catalytic interventions. The Vice President, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia, said government is investing to create the conducive space for development actors to support the development of the north.
We shall use this consultation to refine our approach and strategy for the North and use it to frame the agenda for the next Northern Ghana Development Summit. We are very keen to work on development in the North. It needs to be strategic. It needs to be coordinated with many different ways across the 5 northern regions, with development partners, coordinated better with government, taking into account the broader security implications with those agencies, but also looking at the nexus of really kind of lifting the North out of poverty in a more systematic way.
The development actors want the NDA to address operational challenges that undermine effective collaboration with partners.
I think the first step is having a good analysis of the problem, which they have done. So that's one box ticked. The next step is planning. You know, how do we ensure that we are operationalizing the, these broader concepts that they've developed? And so for us to be able to engage would require additional steps, such as planning processes that will ensure that we know who is playing what role and what resources are available. So, it really operationalizes the plans that they have.
The plan of the Northern Development Authority is to gather inputs of key stakeholders as it develops a medium-term development strategy for the North. The document will serve as a structure to guide the socio-economic transformation of Northern Ghana.
And back here in Accra, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumasi, says Ghana is currently recording very low cases of all the variants of COVID-19. Cases recorded daily are less than 20. As of today, April 26, 2022, Ghana has no severe or critical cases. Dr. Kumasi said even though 14 million COVID-19 vaccines have been administered nationwide, the vaccination drive is low.
Currently, we are experiencing relatively very low cases. We have recorded low cases. So the average daily is about less than 20, and we have a weekly average of less than 5 per week. So that tells you that the numbers are quite low. Currently, 12 regions do not have any active case, which means there are 12 out of the 16 regions that do not have any cases at all. We don't have anybody who is on admission, severe or critical, anywhere in Ghana so far. There's been a significant decline in the number of cases reported at the airport for those few people who are tested. But unfortunately, the vaccine uptake has reduced, and that is so because the low risk perception. But I just want to highlight the fact that this is the best time to get vaccinated.
On the opening of Ghana's borders, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumasi, says there will be a thorough inspection of the authenticity of the vaccination cards of people using the border. In addition to the COVID-19 cards, the ministry will also check for yellow fever cards before an individual will be given entry into Ghana through the borders. Dr. Kumasi urged the general public to still wear their nose masks, especially in enclosed places.
The land borders are open. We do general physical screening of the travelers, doing temperature monitoring, etc. We will do a physical verification of a COVID-19 vaccination card. So the portal will have the samples of the other countries so that they can check. We also do a digital verification of the COVID-19 vaccination certificate using the Panavirus platform, which gives us information as to whether it's a genuine card or it's a fake card. So that one is done. And of course, we continue to inspect the yellow fever vaccination card at all levels, especially in the land borders where we have our neighbors still having some cases of yellow fever.
We have more news after this break. Do stay with us.
It is a nightmare dealing with the filth in Accra. The gutters are choked with garbage. The street
From the Ashanti region, where the Kumasi Shoe Factory, also known as the Defense Industries Holding Company Limited, is asking governments to grant a tax waiver on its raw materials imported into the country. The company explained that the 5-year tax waiver spanning 2023-2028 will enable it not only to become competitive, but also break even. The Kumasi Shoe Factory was formerly known as the Ghana Industrial Holding GIHOC. It was established in 1960 and is situated on a 35.75-acre plot of land. It produces footwear and rubber sheets under an agreement signed by Ghana's first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and Czechoslovakia in 1961. It collapsed in the late 1970s. However, in 2012, the factory was revamped for production after a joint partnership between Czech Republic-based company Knight AS, acting through its subsidiary Knight Ghana, and the Defense Industries Holding Company DIHOC, owned by the Ghana Armed Forces. The shoe factory, which has over the years been producing safety and security boots and shoes for the security agencies, has been struggling to remain in production due to the lack of patronage by the security agencies. Mindful of this, management of the factory decided to expand its production to cover specifications, design and tastes of the general public, especially the fashion industry.
If we are producing shoes for ourselves and everybody is supposed to have a shoe a year, or you are talking about 30 million shoes a year. It's a huge market and that money can stay here. You understand? So it's not about Italian shoes or it's not about Chinese shoes.
The chairman of the Defense Industries Holding Company, Dr. Kaolaye, mentioned lack of support as some of the major challenges the Kumasi Shoe Factory has been facing.
The shoes that we are making here are of international standard. You understand? So these are the policies that we need the government to put in place to help us to get the factory going.
Dr. Lai mentioned that if government can revive the policy of Achimota School Sandals, which was initiated in 2014 as part of efforts to empower the Kumasi Shoe Factory to supply sandals to all schools, the company would be in a position to increase its production and workforce. The factory's new showroom at GAF has on display some of its new designs. And also in business, the Cybersecurity Authority and the Association of Ghana, or the Association of Bankers, have met to discuss the role of banks in ensuring a secure and resilient digital ecosystem for the financial sector. The two parties resolved to work closely with the Bank of Ghana and other relevant agencies to ensure effective cybersecurity in the banking sector.
More than just money. Banks have a duty to protect their customers' financial data. If a bank's cybersecurity is inadequate, clients can lose valuable time and personal information in addition to their savings. With this in mind, a meeting with the Ghana Association of Bankers and the Cybersecurity Authority deliberated on practical strategies for implementing the Cybersecurity Act 2020, Act 1038, and also a possible revision of the Bank of Ghana Cyber and Information Security Directive. The Chief Executive of the Ghana Association of Bankers, Mr. John Iwa, and the Acting Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority, Dr. Albert Ntwibwe-Siako, signed an MOU to collaborate in sensitizing the public to the latest trends in cyber threats and how they can protect themselves. They agreed to effectively collaborate with other institutions like the Financial Intelligence Center, FIC, the Economic and Organized Crime Office, YOCO, and the Criminal Investigations Department, CID. Also present at the meeting were representatives of the Information Security Office of the Bank of Ghana, BOG. Meanwhile, the Cybersecurity Authority and the National Information Technology Agency also met to discuss areas of collaboration in the implementation of the Cybersecurity Act 2020. At the end of the meeting, the Acting Director General of the Cybersecurity Authority, Mr. Albert Nchibwe-Siako, and the Director General of the National Information Technology Agency, NITA, Mr. David Jewu, reaffirmed their commitment to work together for the development of a sectoral directive for the protection of critical information infrastructure in the public sector, work together in the area of capacity building and knowledge transfer through personal exchanges, and collaborate in the area of incident response as NITA is considered a sectoral computer emergency response team. Another commitment is to collaborate on standardization, certification, and accreditation activities as part of both institutions' regulatory mandates.
The Ghana Enterprises Agency, together with the Ministry of Trade and Industry, have launched the 2022 Ghana Women Entrepreneurship Summit and the Innovative Women Entrepreneurs We Rise Network in Accra. The third biennial summit is a platform created to further advance women economic empowerment, develop skills, share knowledge, and create the largest database of women in the country.
In June 2018, the first Ghana Women Entrepreneurship Summit was held on the theme, Ghanaian Women Entrepreneurs from Voices to Action, signaling the Ghanaian woman to take action, standing side by side with each other through knowledge sharing, mentoring, coaching and hand-holding are some of the goals of this network. In furtherance of this, the Ghana Enterprises Agency, GEA, leveraged on its Youth Entrepreneurship and Employment Program in partnership with MasterCard Foundation to design a 3-year project under the Young Africa Works project. This partnership will create access to dignified work for 39,000 youth. The summit is a platform that has helped to further advance women economic empowerment and created the largest database of women entrepreneurs in Ghana. The Minister for Trade and Industry, Mr. Alan Chematin, said MSMEs drive the Ghanaian economy and they constitute 70% of the business population, and 46% of these businesses are owned by women. This, he said, is in line with the government's agenda of developing Ghana into an entrepreneurial nation. The Minister for Communication and Digitalization, Mrs. Ursula Owusu-Kufo, at the launch of the summit and We Rise Network, said the coming together of women as a network will not only sustain the efforts of the foundation in Ghana, but also bring rapid expansion of upcoming interventions. She also charged the women to take advantage of the AFCFTA with focus on packaging and branding of their products.
Our food is good and healthy. Our products are fantastic. But we need to do something about our packaging and the consistency of the products that we produce and be able to produce to scale. The sky is your limit.
The Chief Executive, Ghana Enterprises Agency, Mrs. Kosi Yankee Aye, said government's support for the MSME sector has been encouraging, but access to finance, which is a major hurdle, is being addressed.
From the CAPA season to now, over $200 million worth of funding has been provided and actually created an access. For the first time in the nation's history, more women have accessed funding than they've ever done in their entire lives.
This year's Ghana Women Entrepreneurship Summit is on the theme, Breaking Barriers, Accelerating the Growth of Women-Owned Businesses.